The Sciforror Film Podcast. Hello, welcome to another extra episode of the Sciforror Film Podcast. And today I'm talking to Russ Emanuel, who is the director of the film Staycation. Hi.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm fine, thanks. Hey, good to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Now, start off as I normally do. Tell us a little bit about yourself and about your background and how you got to kind of where you are with making films.
Well, I went to the University of Southern California, which is a pretty accredited cinema school back in the 90s. So I graduated in 2000. Then I started making short films around 2002 with my now late filmmaking partner, Emil Harris, who's the other half of this film, Staycation. He passed away, unfortunately, 2 years ago. But he and I, we started making films together back in 2002. We did this film called Girl with Gun, and it got into places like Comic-Con in San Diego, and it got the attention of my soon-to-be feature film producer, Howard Nash. And Howard, God bless him, he hired me to direct the late John Hurd, the Home Alone dad, in my first feature film called PJ, which is now called Heaven's Messenger. And back then I was this 29-year-old kid who never directed name actors, never directed a feature, and it was a trial by fire. We shot in New York for like 16 days, and I'm here in LA. I'm in Los Angeles, so I'm like a transplant, and living out of my suitcase. It was definitely trial by fire. I had the privilege of working with actors also like Robert Picardo of Star Trek Voyager, who, I've had the honor of directing 5 or 6 times, I think. But anyway, we did that. Then I did my second feature film called Chasing the Green, also called Big Shots, and that had the amazing actor William Devane, who was in Sir Alfred Hitchcock's last film, Family Plot. So for me, to direct somebody who was directed by the master of suspense is kind of like, mind-boggling, and it was such an honor. Then I did The Legends of Nathaya, my third feature film. With Robert Picardo. I did Occupants, which is this film here.
Okay.
And that's called Alterverse online. Anyway, that again has Robert Picardo, and it got into a lot of places and film festivals. It really did a lot for my career. We won the Best Sci-Fi Feature Film Award at Shriekfest, which was a big deal for me. So, and for my late filmmaking partner, Emil Harris, who was also the DP and editor of that film. So it was an amazing experience. Then I did Whisper, my fifth feature film, in New York again. And now Staycation, which, by the way, just to announce here, we got distribution about 2 weeks ago. It will be called Apocalypse Death Party and be released in the summer of 2025. It's being released by the same company that's releasing Screamboat, which is the Steamboat Willie horror film. Yeah, it's Desk Pop Entertainment, subsidiary of Twin Engines Global. So right now, as I'm talking to you, I'm also cutting an official trailer for the distributor, and I'm getting the files ready for distributor.
Cool. No, that's cool. Is Staycation still doing the festival circuit at the moment?
Yeah, it is, because I submitted before we got distribution. So we're actually screening in Las Vegas coming up on I think the 24th.
Right.
And one of our main actors, Sean Kenny of the original Star Trek series, is going to be there in attendance. So
Cool.
it should be really good. I mean, I've had the privilege and honor of working with, really wonderful actors. Olivia Dabo. I think she's British native, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so, yeah.
I think so. But we had her do an American accent as the reporter Grace Baxter in Staycation. But she asked, she said, should I be British? Should I be American? I said, you know what? Why don't you do the American accent? And she obviously could nail it, so she did an American. So sometimes I forget. She came to one of our screenings about 3 weeks ago, and she spoke in British, and I'm going, "Oh yeah, you're British. I forgot."
Yeah.
So yeah, it's
Oh,
coming up in Vegas. I think we're screening in Iowa. Yeah,
oh, that's cool. That's cool. It's still on the circuit, and that you've got distribution as well.
thank you.
So with staycation itself, I mean, the obvious thing is the fact that it must have been influenced by the whole COVID thing. I mean, it's fairly obvious that that's kind of what the big influence for it was.
Yeah.
But where what was the idea behind the story? Where did what made you develop the story in the way that you did?
Well, I took a page from Paul Verhoeven's RoboCop.
Right.
If you remember that, it's a very dark A story,
Yeah,
which is, Peter Weller becomes a cyborg, loses his family, his life, everything. Very depressing, right?
yeah, yeah,
So what did the director do? He put in little comic relief sections throughout the film. Sunscreen 5000 or silly news reports. And that was the inspiration. Now, of course, we did more of that, and there was a reason why. And part of it was the reality of the filming. Part of it was, we did shoot for 2 years because we shot during COVID. We started filming even before there was a vaccine
right,
in November of 2020. That's when we shot Olivia and Sean. And we had to shoot piecemeal for 30 shoot days for 2 years. So the original story was the first 15 minutes of Staycation, and that was darker. But what happened was, if you know anything about COVID compliance in film,
yeah,
it was very strict, and we had to do that because we were signed with SAG-AFTRA, because obviously we had people like Olivia on the
yeah,
film. So because we're SAG-AFTRA affiliated, we have to do COVID compliance. We did COVID compliance. It really ate into the budget. It really ate into the efficiency. For instance, we shot in a warehouse, so every hour on the dot, doesn't matter if we're doing an 8-minute take. Let's say we're 4 minutes into a wonderful take. The COVID compliance officer was like, okay, stop. We got to air out the place. And we had no choice. So,
yeah,
about 20% of the budget that we raised went to COVID compliance. It was really bad. But
yeah,
because of that, then we did an Indiegogo campaign. We raised more money. And part of it was you can act in the film. And so we put in a lot of acting perks. And God bless the late Emil Harris, because he had to write all these parts and he had to create a cohesive glue, which he wrote for 2 years. And we filmed for 2 years. And I had to
um,
match continuity. For instance, Sean, he came back a year later to reprise his role as Dr. Edward Bellows. The actual A story of Britt and Marnie, we shot 2 years after we shot Olivia.
right,
So, Harris, in his mind, was able to put this together. And it's very bittersweet that he's not here to see the final product.
yeah,
But yeah, I've did my best, to complete this film to the best of my ability by myself. And so far, people seem to be liking it. I guess, my own worst critic, so I can't tell anymore. I just watched this like 100 times, right?
yeah.
So I can't tell. I don't know what I have. I just did
Well,
my best to complete it. I'm a perfectionist, so I did my best. I really did.
oh
Um,
no, I mean it works well. The story works well, and having as you say, the little news items and
yeah.
the adverts and that sort of thing in between, they really work well. They do fit in really well, and it it it's very strange because although it's quite broken up, it still flows.
Yeah, and
Story.
that's a testament to Harris, his writing. And we also put in like in-universe products like clown vitamins and
Yeah, yeah,
Havine brandy and zombie zingers. And what we did, or Hug a Wanderer, that poster.
yeah,
So what we did was we used it throughout the film, as a cohesive glue.
yeah.
So, we see a clown vitamin commercial, then we see Bert and Marnie in the supermarket and they grab the clown vitamins as an
Yeah.
example. And hopefully all of it sort of makes sense. Why do we do crazy clown vitamins? Well, what did we all do during COVID? We started taking vitamins, right?
Yeah,
I did. I'm still taking vitamins. So,
yeah, yeah,
vitamin C, whatever, zinc, all of that. So, that's really what Staycation, aka Apocalypse Death Party, is all about, is a social commentary on how people all around the world, and I'm talking all around the world because we have people from China in the film, or Iran or Australia.
yeah.
They're all over the film, and that was the whole point. I grew up very international. I grew up in Japan and the United States, so I have a very international mindset, and I wanted this to be a global experience because we all experienced COVID, all of us. And hopefully, I think what some people have said to me is that this may be the first COVID-related film that was done in a satirical way.
Yeah,
So what people are telling me is a lot of COVID films are done very dark and depressing, you know,
yeah,
and we didn't do that intentionally. We didn't want to do that. So it definitely is like a mockumentary, maybe,
yeah,
or a
yeah. I get that.
satire. It's horror, but it's like horror comedy, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
right? We've been winning, like, we already won best comedy 3 times. So
There,
it's, I guess, a comedy, quote unquote.
there were certain elements of it that reminded me somewhat of some of the trauma films.
Hmm.
Because Troma sometimes had this thing of putting in like TV adverts and things like that in the middle of their films and that sort of thing, and it kind of reminded me of some of their sort of thing. But yeah, it really worked well. I really thought it was good. Um, but I mean, the thing that I thought was interesting was it's kind of you watch it kind of expecting there to be this kind of any minute there's just going to be like hordes of zombies on sort of attacking people, but it never quite actually happened.
Yeah, yeah, part of it's budgetary, but also, and I can announce it here, I have written Staycation 2. So this
Oh,
was
right.
intended to be just the beginning. Actually, there is a prequel called Routine, which is a short film that, started back in 2020.
Oh,
Then we have Quarantine, which is the first 15 minutes of Staycation, and that's a tie-in, I guess, to publicize Staycation. But there is a Staycation too. I started writing in 2023. I hired a wonderful writer named Avishai Weinberger, and he's polishing the script. Started yesterday, actually. So
okay.
he's an incredible writer, incredible filmmaker, and unfortunately, my writing partner, his name was, I mentioned again, Emil Harris, and he's no longer with us. So
Yeah,
I may be able to direct and produce, but I cannot write. So I need a writing collaborator, and
yeah.
Avishai is a wonderful guy. So yeah, right now we're polishing it. Trust me, I want to put in more zombie.
Yeah, no, I mean, it wasn't. I mean, it wasn't a criticism. It's just it was actually quite interesting to watch because it's kind of it's kind of what you expect from a film of this type, but because it doesn't happen, it kind of makes it more interesting
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
because
I
it kind of
appreciate
like
that.
it makes it something slightly out of the ordinary.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for that without outside the box experience, if you will. But there is one scene where Bailey Sorrell, she turns into, one of those creatures we call
Yeah,
wanderers in the film.
yeah,
And she had extensive prosthetics and makeup.
yeah.
And this is why zombie effects is very difficult. It took 1 hour for her to get into the makeup. And that included custom contact lenses
Yeah.
to the point where, and she had to get it like 2 weeks before via the special makeup effects artist, Christopher Osorio, who did a wonderful job on her. Um, but she had to go to the optometrist, get, custom fitting. And each eye, if you watch the film again, has different, it's different in both
All
eyes.
right.
Yeah. And that was done on purpose. Now when she put it in, she was literally blind.
Oh,
She
wow.
could not see. We had to wheelchair her in, to her apartment
Yeah.
where, we did her scene. So yeah. I mean, that's the thing, it looks good, but it does take time to put
Yeah.
it on, you
Yeah.
know?
It's a lot of time and a lot of money, and it's
Mhm.
it does, as you say, eats into budgets and it eats into time and all that kind of thing. And if you filming during COVID, you didn't have a lot of time and to spare really. So
Yeah, now it's in hindsight, I guess, but back then it was very serious. I mean, I am very proud of this fact. Nobody got COVID
no,
on my film. And
no,
I know other films that were done in that time period and they did get COVID.
yeah,
I won't
yeah,
name who is who, but I was very strict, sanitizing, wearing the masks, everything,
yeah, yeah.
getting the
Well, I think
vaccines if you can.
yeah, I
Yeah.
think you have to be really. You're doing
Hmm.
things like that. Um, so you've got um, uh, more festivals that this is going into coming up, and then you got the distribution for this. What are you going to be working on next? Have you got something already in the pipeline, or are you concentrating on doing the staycation too?
Oh yeah, staycation too. I mean, it really is that the investors know about it. They seem to be happy with the trajectory right now of winning the awards. Like one of them, Justin Terry Smith. He went to the Santa Fe Film Festival. We won Best Ensemble there, and he was floored. And I was very happy for him because he made the effort to make the
Yeah,
film possible. Bill Victor Arakan, another one. Ed Maurer, Eric Cast, they showed up in Vegas for Shockfest. We won there, best comedy. So I want them to enjoy the fruits of their labor,
yeah.
And they already know about this sequel. So does Olivia, so does Sean, so does, a lot of the actors, who I would love to have return. So yeah, I'm very, very, pardon the pun, dead set on doing Staycation too.
So that's going to be the main focus for from now on. When do you reckon you're going to be starting on that?
Probably in a couple months. I need to get the distribution files to the distributor first, and we have a
Yeah,
May 31st deadline. That is my priority. There will be an official trailer for Staycation 1, aka Apocalypse Death Party. I'm putting the finishing touches right now, but they requested a new trailer, which is fine because the trailer I have now is a teaser. It was always meant to be a teaser. We did that like 3 years ago
yeah.
before any visual effects, nothing. So, we needed a new trailer and it's going to be a slightly more comedic, just like the film.
Cool. Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. So, so you if you're going to start that in a few months' time, you reckon that'll be out by next year or a couple of years?
Knock on wood, we'll see. You
Well,
never know. I mean, this is a feature, it's not a short. It's different. It's a different beast. Now, I don't think it'll take 4 years like it did the first film, but that was under very unique circumstances of COVID.
yeah,
So
yeah.
no, no, this time I don't want to shoot piecemeal for 2 years because that's just not fun.
Well, hopefully, if with a if we don't have another outbreak of COVID or anything like that, you'll have things will be a lot easier for you to manage as far as it
Yes,
goes.
knock on wood. No, I hope we never, at least in our lifetime, have another pandemic like we did.
Yeah. I must admit, I was because I didn't. I went to the Romford Horror Film Festival, and I didn't get to see this there. Which I was. It's There were a lot of films I didn't get to see there because unfortunately I was doing the festival on my own and
Yeah.
did the review from it and there. But it was good to see it here. But I kind of would have liked to have seen it on the big screen to see how that would have affected it because it's always very different just watching it on like my computer screen rather than watching it in the cinema.
I know.
So I would
I
have liked to have had that kind of that thing. But I mean, you've apart from the actual awards, that sort of thing, have you had a lot of good feedback from people when they've seen it?
Yeah, I mentioned this before. I have my own criticisms of my own film, and every film I do, even if we win accolades, it doesn't matter. I am, a perfectionist. So, what do I see as flaws, right? No, they said again, it's a unique take on a pandemic type film. Maybe maybe there was too many infomercials. I don't know, but that again was the nature of the beast, which, with the Indiegogo campaign, all that. So again, we did our best to put it together. But people, I think initially they thought it was a drama. So when they first saw it in Vegas, some of it got confused, and then they realized, oh my God, this is a comedy. So now we've been like, talking to the distributor, and our sales agents, Avant Artists, and we're like, we should like, market this as a comedy
Yeah,
because that's apparently what it is.
yeah,
And if people view it as a comedy, they seem to enjoy it more.
yeah, yeah. No, I get that. I get that. See, it's quite interesting actually because um when you do comedy is very subjective, and some people really, and the other thing is the fact that a lot of comedy doesn't translate very well between countries.
Yes.
But from people I talked to at Romford and that sort of thing who saw it there, and when we watched it, I think it worked really well. It kind of the humor in it kind of carried across really well.
Oh, thank you.
Um,
I'm relieved that you said that. It is difficult. I understand like American versus English humor is different,
yeah,
But I think universally we all can appreciate maybe slapstick, which, I grew up, like the Naked Gun films,
yeah,
I talk
yeah,
about that because there's a fourth one coming out now. But
yeah,
I grew up with people like Leslie Nielsen, it was like deadpan humor, if you will.
yeah,
Yeah, it just, for me, I like that. It's funny. Like I won't like specifically mention where in the film, but I put in, one of my favorite animals, cats.
yeah.
And there's a scene with cats. And every time I watch that scene with the mention of the cats, I laughed out loud, when I was like QCing the film every single time. And I'm like, you think other people might get that reaction? I'm thinking maybe, I hope, because
Maybe, yeah.
I can't stop laughing at that scene. So maybe that is universal humor. I don't know.
But the other thing I did like was the fact that I kind of grew up with watching the George A. Romero
Yeah.
zombie films, and what I did like is the fact that the actual interview at
Hmm.
the beginning and that reminded me very much of some of the pieces in the first in Night of the Living Dead, and
Yep.
also in the second film where they're kind of like they're having these TV debates about
Hmm.
zombies and about what you should do with them, that sort of thing.
Hmm.
And it kind of reminded me a bit of that, which was really good because it gives you a point of reference, if you like. And I thought that was really well done.
Thank you. I actually, just reminded me. In Occupants, we put in part of the Night of the Living Dead audio
All right.
that one of the characters was watching because that was under no copyright laws,
Yeah,
and it
yeah,
was an homage to that film. But yes, and also the zombies nowadays tend to be much more athletic.
yes,
And
yes,
I tried, there's a little bit of that, but I tried to make them more, I guess, Romero zombies, if you will, especially at the
yeah,
beginning,
yeah,
as a homage to those types of film.
yeah. No, it was good. It was good. It was great to watch the film. Actually, we did enjoy it, and it was nice to finally get to see it, and having it was one of the ones that I marked, but I could never got to see it at the festival. So it was good to get to see it at the end. Well, I hope you do well at the other festivals you've got to get it going to, and I look forward to it being distributed. And will it be on a streaming platform anywhere or? Is
Yes, we just don't know which ones yet, but it won't be exclusive like Netflix. So it will be on like Amazon or Tubi. I
right?
think those two were mentioned by the distributor, but there's going to be more.
Okay,
But yeah, I'm letting our distributor handle that part of
cool.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, so I look forward to seeing it up on there, and I look forward to finding out more and seeing more about the sequel as well.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for being on the show. It's really good to
Thank
talk to
you.
you. Um, so I hope everything goes well. I will put links up to your social media and to everything else so people can keep an eye on what's going on with the film and with the sequel and that sort of thing. So thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. Thank you so much.
It's been really good. Thank you to everybody for watching. As I say, I will put links up. So check out Staycation or sorry, what was the
Apocalypse Death Party, or I
Apocalypse
abbreviate
Death
as
Party?
APD, like
Right.
Alien versus Predator, AVP, the vicinity. Yeah, there you go. Remember it that way.
So keep an eye out for that anyway, and hopefully be coming up soon. Okay. Thanks a lot. Bye.
Thank you.
The Sciforror Film Podcast.